Welcome to an In Conversation with Nick Quantrill, a friend, colleague and co-director of Hull Noir Crime Fiction Festival. As we look forward to the launch of his new novel, Sound of the Sinners. It's the fourth in the acclaimed Joe Geraghty series of novels. It's based in Hull and Yorkshire. It's the first new Geraghty novel in, I think, 7 years. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. And the first to be published by Fahrenheit Press. So for readers who are unfamiliar with Joe Geraghty, can you tell us a bit about his backstory?
Yeah, you're right. It's 7 years since I've been a Joe Geraghty novel. That feels like a long time, doesn't it? Like I've been doing nothing. But I have been writing other novels, and obviously we organised the Crime Festival and so on. But I wrote the first Joe Geraghty novel about 10 years ago, now maybe a little bit longer. It was just as Hull had been crowned the UK Crap Town of the Year, which is an amazing backdrop to start with, really. And by the time I'd finished the third in what I thought was kind of the trilogy, The Crooked Beat, Hull had been crowned the UK City of Culture. So the city had been on this kind of amazing journey, and I was able to tap into that essentially. So using Joe Geraghty as my as my tool to do so effectively. He's a small-time private investigator. He has an office in the old town of Hull, and yeah, it's just kind of a great character to explore the city through, really, because I'm very much a fan of the Ian Rankin novel set in Edinburgh, and I kind of wanted to do what Ian had done for Edinburgh, but for Hull, because it felt like literally nobody was writing about the city when I first started. So it was just a chance to really put a marker down and say, this is my truth about my home city. And a private investigator was just a really good tool to do that with.
And how did it feel to be writing him again after 7 years?
Yeah, it was an unexpected kind of challenge, really. And it felt good, to be fair, because I think when you write any series of books with the same character, you have that world already established around them, so you've kind of got the backdrop already kind of lined up for you effectively. So it felt nice to slip back into that world, and kind of a big thing of doing so was that I had to kind of work with what I had essentially, because at the end of the third novel, The Crooked Beat, Joe walks away from Hull. The final scene in the book, which isn't giving anything away to new readers, is that Joe literally kind of turns his back on the city and he walks away. So I had to kind of think about, where's he been for the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years? What's he been doing? And probably most importantly, what would bring him back? Why would he return? It was really good fun to go back and write a character that I really enjoy writing about, and sort of pick up those threads from the previous books as well, and kind of create something that I think is like a jumping in point for new readers as well. It's a book where you don't necessarily have to read the first 3 to pick up this one. It's a good sort of point during the series, I think.
And that leads on to my next question, really. As we said at the top of the interview, this is your first novel for Fahrenheit Press, who are kind of emerging as like the punkest punk indie in town. How much is this a fresh start for you, for the character, and with a new publisher, and with a great new look for the books?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's been the big thing, really. Like you say, Fahrenheit is very much this kind of like very edgy, kind of punky publisher, and Chris McVeigh, who runs Fahrenheit, has always said his biggest influence is Tony Wilson. And, he wants to kind of recreate that sense of what Tony was doing in the Manchester music scene within the book world. He wanted to have that kind of edge to it and that kind of belligerence almost to the rest of things. So, when the original novels were published by Caffeine Night, who effectively closed the door to their crime fiction arm a few years ago and gave the rights back to the authors. So, and it happened very quickly. Chris was really keen to republish those Geraghty novels because he'd read them and really enjoyed them. And kind of the deal was essentially that if he put those back into print, then we should have something new as well. So at that point, it was a case of, right, this is what am I going to do? Am I going to kind of get Joe back to Hull after his period away? And as you said, the covers have really, I think, given it a new kind of shot in the arm, potentially. I know people say don't judge your book by its cover, but I think that's probably strange advice to give, isn't it, really? Because we do judge books by the cover. And the way that the first 3 had the interlocking skyline of Hull with Joe walking across them just worked really, really effectively, and the kind of the vibrant colours, I think, really made it stand out on social media, which kind of I think I gave Chris a headache for the 4th book, because obviously we'd had the 3 which locked together with Joe walking away. But if you look at the new one, kind of the colours are kind of really nice and vibrant with a backdrop, but the eagle-eyed readers will notice that Joe's turned back and he's walking back towards where he came from.
And
So yeah, I'm really. It's
the colours,
yeah.
and it's black and amber.
It is black and amber, yeah. I got that on the night that Hull City got beat 8-0 away from home at Wigan. So I nearly emailed Chris back straight away saying you have to do some different colours because we can't be associated with this. But yeah, no, I'm really pleased with that. And it's a fresh start for me as a writer again. It's a fresh start to kind of write more Joe Geraghty novels. It's just, it's just kind of lined up really, really nicely.
I mean, do you feel you developed as a writer since the last one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the aim of the game, isn't it, essentially? A lot of people have said that the Geraghty novels get stronger as you go through the trilogy. I think as a writer, you're obviously more critical of your own work, and I can kind of see that. But obviously, in that gap between writing The Crooked Beat and Sound of the Sinners, I'd written other novels and other pieces of work. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'd be disappointed if it wasn't kind of a more technically better novel than what had gone before in that sense. I think it's a much stronger novel and I'm a better writer. And I think, it's kind of when you kind of hang around the crime scene and you hear people like Mark Billingham talk about how he kind of still stretches himself 20 novels sort of down the line, when by rights he could just kind of sit back and dial them in essentially because he's got such a huge readership. That hunger of writers like Mark, and people like Val and McDermott and Ian Rankin and so on, just that desire to keep improving as writers, it's very inspiring, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I think it's definitely a stronger novel for the last few years, really.
It's about, as you said, Joe Geraghty comes back to Hull, and he's almost a stranger in his own city, and obviously that's something that we've all felt a little bit of recently. What's changed about the city he comes back to? And have you been able to sort of take him to places that you hadn't before?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I left Joe at the end of The Crooked Beat, when he's walking away from the city, it's kind of on the brink of the City of Culture programme happening. So it was a really kind of opportune moment to say we've now had that kind of big buzz of 2017 when we had the big cultural programme happening in the city. To kind of take a step back after a couple of years and say, right, what's happened? What's really happened? Who are the winners and who are the losers in this type of thing? And I'm really interested in kind of those kind of like socio-economic and political sort of issues around places anyway. So yeah, it was a really good chance to kind of examine that and see where is the money gone? Who's done well out with this type of thing? Who hasn't done so well out with it? And I think if you know Hull, then kind of the symbol I think of the City of Culture really is the fruit market area. It's kind of sits on near the docks in the marina against the waterfront, and historically it was, as its name suggests, it was packed full of warehouses where the boats would kind of take the fruit and the fresh produce to, and then they would be sort of taken out by the wholesale and distributed around the country. And those old warehouses had stood in disrepair and rack and ruin for a number of years until City of Culture was kind of on the radar, and they've been turned into like cool bars, cool restaurants, theatre spaces. There's a microbrewery. I think when kind of the mainstream media came down to Hull as part of the City of Culture programme, referred to it as like a mini Shoreditch area. Yeah, which is kind of true, isn't it, I think. So yeah, I think that became for me very much a symbol of the modern city of Hull. So a lot of the book is set around that area, and a lot of the people that Joe kind of encounters in the novel have, shall we say, interest in that kind of area of the city. So yeah. I think as a writer, you're always looking for new parts of the city to explore, and the fruit market was the big target with this book for me.
Cool. And Sound of the Sinners is an excellent title for a novel, and it's from a song on the Clash's Sandinista, isn't it? I mean, what led you to that as a title?
Well, again, the Eagle Eye viewers will notice that the third book, The Crooked Beat, is a song title from the album as well. So there's maybe something on there. I don't know. Is there 36 songs on Sandinista as a album? So by the law of averages, there must be a couple of track titles on there that you can kind of butcher up a little bit and use as book titles, which is what I've kind of always done, really. The second book, The Late Greats, is a song title as well by Wilco. And I just liked the way those kind of words went together. Sound of the Sinners, they're kind of counterintuitive, aren't they, almost? You don't kind of hear people sinning, you probably see it more. I just really like the way they went together. It was like a nice, short, sort of sharp title. And then when you kind of listen to the song a little bit more deeply, the lyrics are about they're about kind of the redemption of the character in the song, aren't they? Really, I think so. It kind of ties in with this idea of Joe coming back and repaying a debt to his former business partner, who's kind of found dead at the beginning of the novel, with the police writing it off as a hit and run accident, but Joe kind of knows there's something deeper going on. So yeah, it just all kind of came together in that sense, really. And I think, you know, for me as a writer, once I've got the title of the book in mind, it then can really take off. You know, I can't seem to write a book with just unknown or untitled at the top of that kind of title in mind. And yeah, there's something about, I guess, something about the lyrics of that novel, maybe inadvertently, but just the way the words go together and that whole Joe Strummer influence on things as well.
And was that the only title you ever had for it? It never had a working title. It was always that.
Yeah, it always was. I mean, I have a long list of title ideas, of which I suspect most of them are just terrible ideas. But yeah, once I kind of stumbled across that, it just really just fitted perfectly for me. And I guess to a degree, I did force it to a degree. I was kind of very proactively looking through my record sleeves, thinking, right, I need a book title. And when I landed on that one, I thought that's the one I want. So yeah, there's just something in my mind that says you can't really start a novel until you've got the title of it.
And am I right in thinking that the publication has been delayed? Has it been put back?
Yeah, it was. It was originally kind of planned to come out in June. So it would have been published to tie in with our second Hull Noir crime festival, which would have been obviously sort of perfect for me as a writer and help tie into the whole programme of exploring Hull and Yorkshire and the ideas of noir and so on. But given the situation that the pandemic, it got delayed a little bit, so it's now out 28th of August. And hopefully we will sort of reschedule Hull Noir for next March and we can celebrate it properly then.
Brilliant. Nick, thank you very much. Sound of the Sinners is out on the 28th of August. It's published by Fahrenheit Press, and I really can't wait to read it. Cheers. Thank you.